In news from Jamaica, the West Kingston Commission of Inquiry heard on Thursday that soft detention, utilizing the element of surprise, was the original plan crafted to capture Christopher Dudis Coke once the arrest warrant was issued for him in 2010. Senior officer in the Jamaica Defense Force, JDF Lieutenant Colonel Jamie Ogilvie, says those plans were thwarted when the intention to invade West Kingston was publicized in the media. He adds in testimony that it was on the evening of May 24, 2010 that it became apparent Dudis was not in the vicinity, especially Tivoli Gardens.
Later that night on the 24th, yes sir, I received information that it was quite possible that he had left. Wasn't a surety, but it was possible that he had left. But we had no way to confirm that.
About what time was that intelligence?
Maybe sometime around 8 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., I think. It was just after dark.
He said these soldiers were sent to a particular location based on intelligence, but by the time they got there, he was gone. Lieutenant Colonel Ogilvie denied claims made by some residents of West Kingston that soldiers destroyed their properties and possessions and stole or consumed their goods. He said there was one reported incident of soldiers utilizing goods without permission, and that situation was amicably addressed.
There was a pharmacy on the MPM complex in which soldiers had to spend the night.
Yeah.
At that time, this is right on Darling Street, there we had difficulties in administering, resupplying our men. The officer in charge indicated that the men drank water, ate snacks that were present in the pharmacy. He made a list of those that was provided to me. I sent it up to the headquarters, and the owners of the pharmacy were notified, and to the best of my knowledge, restitution was made.
Meanwhile, Chairman of the Commission, Sir David Simmons, questioned whether it was ensured that the soldiers completely understood their roles before conducting the incursion. Lieutenant Colonel Ogilvie said he ensured the preparation was thorough.
I explained that the emergency power regulation empowered members of the Jamaica Defense Force to have the right to search, detain, prevent use of particular thoroughfares, and to do such things as was necessary to ensure the safety and security of the citizens in the area and the community. It included vesting authority in members of the JDF, and there were different categories, but vesting authority in members of the JDF to require persons in possession of dangerous substances to remove them from within that particular area. I further explained that there were 3 levels of authority. One was the competent authority, which was the Chief of Defense Staff, and he had the authority to take control of buildings, vehicles, block access to roadways, a number of things that required control at his level. The second level was for senior authorized persons, which included officers of the JDF, warrant officers, and non-commissioned officers below the rank of sergeant, which would have included staff sergeants, sergeants, corporals, lance corporals.
Still on West Kingston Inquiry news, another major from the Jamaica Defense Force took the witness stand at the Commission on Friday. Major Marlon Kennedy, who was the commander of Alpha Company's 2nd Battalion during the incursion, says his team was concentrated in the Tivoli area in the vicinity of the office of the Tivoli gang called Presidential Clique. He said while securing the area, one of his officers inspected a suspicious car parked in front of the office. He said the car seemed to be innocent until the officer opened the trunk.
When he opened the trunk, he saw a few containers, some of those, what do you call those 2-gallon syrup bottle type containers with a few markings on them. And further inspection, he also saw that the containers were cut open at the top and there was also bags and a large, what we'd call a wash tub. And when he inspected that, he saw that there are a number of assorted rounds in these containers and bags.
Rounds?
Ammunition, sir.
There's an
Ammunition, sir.
Major Kennedy says the bottles and the bags contained ammunition for M16 and AK-47 assault rifles. The containers, on the other hand, held flour and cornmeal, which Major Kennedy noted is used to prevent the ammunition from becoming rust. He confirmed that this was the biggest find of the operation, with the ammunition amounting to 4,000 rounds. Major Kennedy also theorized that the way the vehicle was positioned in relation to the office, it may have been used to supply ammunition to gunmen associated with Christopher Dudus Coke.
It was not directly in front of it, but to the south of it, but it was directly in front of the path that led from the office over into the Java area.
Yeah.
So what our interpretation of the position of that vehicle is what we would call a mobile ammunition resupply type setup. And the reports we got was that prior to us moving into Tivoli, that majority of the gunmen or the close protection team for Mr. Coke and Mr. Coke himself were in the Java area before we got there. So our assumption is that that was a resupply point where they would just move back and forth to grab whatever they needed to carry out their activities.